Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Jerneycic, class of 1995. Long time ago, and many jugs ago, I managed to graduate Cub High. After graduation, I went to University of Michigan, majored in partying and lacrosse, minored in accounting and finance, and then after college, I went to Chicago, took a job. Lived there for about 12 years, got married, I have 2 kids, and I'm proud to say I recently moved back here to Detroit area, and it's very good to be back, particularly so I can be a part of opportunities like this. I'm not here to talk about myself, however, and it wasn't that long ago that I was sitting in one of your guys' seats thinking, what is this guy going to tell me that I don't already know? Well, I'm here to tell you about one of the alumnus of the year, my father, Frank Jerneycic. Frank Jerneycic has many gifts. He is smart, he is successful, he's hardworking, he's honest, he's generous, he's loving, he's caring, he's a great father, he's a great husband, he's a great grandfather. He is a man for others. He has taught me so many things over the years. I couldn't even tell you how many. But one of my favorite stories, which I like to tell, and he knows this, is when I was little and he said to me, "What's the most valuable thing, Dan, that you can give somebody?" And my response very quickly was, "Money, Dad, you give them money." He said, "No, son, money is not the most valuable thing." And so then I said, of course, it takes lots of money to buy gold and diamonds. So gold and diamonds, those are the most valuable things. Not gold and diamonds either, son. So I paused and I thought about it for a second. I said, I got to get this. I got it. It's love. He said, those things all have value, but even love is not the most valuable thing. The most valuable thing you can give somebody is your time, because you only have so much of it, and once you give it to somebody or to something, you don't ever get it back. Frank is very generous with all of his gifts, but he's especially generous with the most valuable asset, which is his time. This is apparent to everyone here that knows him, as they can see what he's invested in the community in this outstanding institution, U of D Jesuit. He does it because he believes in U of D, he believes in God, he believes in the leadership and the values that they teach, he believes in me, and he believes in all of you. And that's why he's here today, and this is why we recognize him. I'll never forget that valuable lesson he's taught me, and I hope none of you forgets how important it is to share your time with those who need it and to make an impact, because this is what men for others do. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce my father, Frank Jerneycic.
Wow. Thank you, Dan, for the very generous introduction. And thank you, Father Kaiser, for thinking of me with this Alumnus of the Year award. And more importantly, Father Kaiser, I want to thank you and your Jesuit brothers for all you've done for me. It's truly an honor to be remembered by an institution that I hold in such high regard. This just goes to show you that serving a few jugs don't stop you from getting an accomplishment later on. I'd like to make a few comments about the high and its impact on lives, how it impacted my life, then about family, and finally about men for others, which to me is involvement in things besides family and what somebody pays you to do. I often think back of how I ended up at the high. It was fortuitous. I hadn't gone to Catholic grade schools, and I had a sister who went to U of D College. Well, her friend had a brother that went to U of D High, and she said, "You should go there." Well, next thing you know, I was taking the exam, and next thing you know, I got accepted, and next thing you know, I went in. It was a game changer. Changed my life. I certainly learned many things at the high. Because of the draw from diverse areas, I was able to learn about different people, different cultures, national origins, different intelligences and physical strengths, and different economics. I even met a girl at one of the dances and ended up marrying her. But there were two big takeaways. The first, and Patrick talked about it, was the Jesuits taught me how to think. That's the part that's made the biggest difference in the rest of my life. Sure, I learned facts. Sure, I learned formulas. Sure, I made friends. But how to think, to challenge, to analyze, to figure out, it's impacted every aspect of my life. Whether it's work, family, personal, whatever. That was a big takeaway for me, and it probably will be for you. I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you that remembering a physics formula or how to do a derivative or how to conjugate a verb is something that you're not going to use 10 years from now. You're probably not going to use it a year from now. But I can promise you that how to think is going to impact your life forever. The first impression that you make when you meet somebody, the ability to communicate with others, and to be able to assess a situation and come up with a course of action will be of use to you on a daily basis. And these skills, the ability to think and act, are the things that I learned a lot about when I was at the high. I'm sure all of you did too. The second big takeaway for me at the high was starting to learn about getting involved in helping others, how to be a man for others, how to give back. I'm going to talk about that more in just a little bit. The high is a special place. There were some tough years after I graduated, but the Jesuits persevered and people got involved. Look at it now. Thriving is a word that doesn't do it justice. But we're all here today because so many who preceded us were men for others and made it happen. My wife and I started getting involved in the high before Dan and his brother David were thinking of going here. I often tell the story when people ask me when the decision was made for them to come here, and my quick smart aleck remark is, I think we were in the delivery room at the time. But what a great experience it was for them. Not only the things that they learned, but the experiences they had and the lifelong friendships that they made. They still hang around with their friends from the high. Quite honestly, I still hang around with their friends from the high and their friends' parents. You might not realize it, but you're now a member of a very special, close-knit group. I got a leg up on my first job interview because the guy that was interviewing me was a Cub, and it came up in the interview. Now, I wasn't the smartest or best qualified, but I got the job. And it was a starting point, and it made a difference. Best job I could have hoped for. And I've run into plenty of Cubs since. I was just telling a couple of the soon-to-be grads about every couple weeks running into somebody from the high. They're out there, and you all think the same way or learn how to think the same way. You're there for each other. Take advantage of that. You're a Cub. You'll find yourself singing the fight song many times for many years to come. Second thing I wanted to talk about was family. I never really understood what family was about until I met my wife. You see, my family was in other states and other cities, and I did not have a close-knit family. But my wife was the opposite. Everyone was together all the time, whether it was for weddings or funerals or picnics or Sunday dinner or a couple of beers in the backyard. They were always together. And once I saw that, I figured out how important it was. They are the people that you are closest with, next to your relationship with God. They've always been yours, and they always will be yours. Don't forget it. When they're in need, they are the most important thing in your lives. And when you are in need, they'll be there for you. I'm sure you've learned a lot about that already at the high end at your homes. The third thing I wanted to talk about, as I promised, I wanted to get back to men for others, getting involved in the community, giving back. Call it what you will. It will mean something different to each of us, and we will each find our way of being men for others. When I first thought about this, I thought, men for others? I'm going to go have a couple of beers with my buddies. I'm going to play some golf. I'm going to play some cards. And I'm not going to say that there were a lot of things that I thought of in the category of men for others. Then somebody told me a story at some point about Mother Teresa, and they were behind her in the line in St. Peter's. As they were waiting to talk to St. Peter said to Mother Teresa, you could have done more. I mean, are you kidding me? Okay? We can always do more, but it makes me wonder if I'm doing enough. But the point I want to make is that the times when I've done something for others, something unexpected has happened. I thought I was going to do something to make somebody else's life better, to ease some pain, to help improve something, to give some help. But somehow it got turned around. I was the one who got rewarded. So let me give you a few examples of that. When my sons were at the high, my wife and I ended up chairing the annual auction. We ended up chairing the auction for about 5 years, and I hate meetings. And it was a lot of work. But the takeaway is that it ended up being fun. And the takeaway was that the friendships that we made are the friendships that we have today. As I watched the people stand who were Alumnus of the Year in the past, I think I know all but 4 of them because I've seen them at every event that I go to almost all year long. They're there. They're involved in the community, and they give back. And those are the relationships that I learned to have when I was working on the auction at U of D High. Then I got involved with the Capuchins to sell tickets for their annual soup kitchen dinner. Not the most fun thing to do, to have to call people up and tell them reach in your pocket and pull some dollars out or write a check to a cause. And then I found myself sitting around at a table with a lot of other people who were doing the same things. And there were a few Capuchin brothers sharing a simple dinner with all of us. And we asked them to tell us about their day. I was blown away. I had dinner with somebody who washes clothes from people who've been wearing them for 3 weeks. And he washes them so they can be used by the next person. Does anybody have an idea what that job would be like? I couldn't do it. I also listened to somebody who was in jail 3 times and got out, didn't think he could get a job anywhere. His family even told him that. And he stumbled into the Capuchins monastery, and he happened to say he worked in the bakery in jail. Next thing you know, he was running the bakery. And when you sit down and talk with this person today, he tells you about how he wants to give back to other people. He's making a difference in other people's lives. Do you know what it's like to sit down with a saint? I think I've done it a few times. And that's what happened to me. And these people come to me and say, gee, thanks for all you do. I say, are you kidding me? I do nothing. You've given your lives. But the reward comes back. A couple of times a year, I go to Detroit Loyola High School for a fundraiser. Something unexpected happens there, too. I meet the finest young man you can imagine. And here's somebody who might have been marginalized and not have gotten through high school, let alone on to college, but for the existence of Loyola. And Jesuits come up and thank me for getting involved. I did nothing. They gave their lives. You see what I mean about giving and what happens? It's become not a part of my life where I feel I've been out anything. In fact, it's enriched my life and made it much more rewarding. You'll see. Get involved, give. You'll find it the most rewarding experience of your life. You're just completing the stage of your education at the finest school in the state. You have an opportunity to use the things you've learned in many aspects of life. Take the opportunity to make your life about many relationships, starting with the ones you've begun here. Thank you very much.